K-Billy's super sounds of the 70s just keeps on trucking.
G'day everybody, my name is Jack Squarepeg, and this is a review of the Call of Cthulhu adventure, Dockside Dogs. Written by Paul Fricker, this adventure contains 6 pre-generated characters that you can actually gender swap at your leisure, which is super neat for anybody that might be coming to your table, and more adventures should do it. This adventure is a spoof and loving tribute of the classic Quentin Tarantino movie Reservoir Dogs. It is highly dependent on a group of players who are prepared to roleplay their characters to the bitter end. We did an actual play of this adventure that you can watch here. But if you don't want to know who is an amateur and who is a professional, be warned. Spoilers beyond this point. But any GMs out there who are looking for some tips and tricks on how to run this, stick around because we have a lot to talk about. We played this game with the phenomenal players Rad Scarlet, Atomic Void, Cam, Jason, and Karen from my Trouble Over Yonder Cowboy show. Season 2 coming soon. The short version is this, GMs. If you're looking for a recommendation, this is one of the best one-shots I have ever played. But it has a significant caveat that I think you need to hear. This adventure needs to be run with the pre-generated characters. It will fall apart if players bring their own PCs. The adventure is set in modern-day Los Angeles, and the player characters respectively are Mr. Silver, Mr. Beige, Mr. Green, Mr. Black, Mr. Purple, and Mr. Red.
Why am I Mr. Red?
Because red is a lovely color and I don't want to get cancelled.
There are quite a few different secrets that these player characters have, which is going to cause no small amount of tension between them. In reality, however, everything that is going on within the pages of this adventure is all fake. And I don't mean in the table sense, I mean in the reality of the adventure. It is literally fake. It is not real. It is in fact a story, a script being read by the reader himself. Taylor Meldrum. Taylor is actively reading the script that he has written, and the story is playing out according to what he wrote. Taylor has been given an extremely lucrative offer. Someone by the name of Mr. Yellow has come to him, aka the Yellow King himself. The Yellow King has gotten in touch with him in the form of Mr. Yellow, and Mr. Yellow has said to Taylor Meldrum that he can live forever in the great city of Carcosa as one of the immortal artists that they so worship and cherish. But he needs to make the choice to go on the ferry. And the player characters, as the characters in his story, can choose to go with him. That is, if they haven't killed each other first. This means 2 things. First, that the player character's reality is not reality. Second, that real life is going to seep in. Taylor Meldrum's experiences from being a baby to being a dying man are going to be appearing throughout this adventure. More on that in a bit. Our story begins, and I mean that literally, with our players piling into an abandoned warehouse. Everyone is either extremely hurt, or in the case of my players, almost dead from a self-inflicted driving accident where they fumbled.
What does it mean when it's all zeros?
Very bad. That's a 100.
My car. Hang on, where's the one?
Oh, fantastic.
I need to get my screen because this is more damage than I thought.
It's because, like,
Okay.
So it was a quick visit with Mr. Black and Mr. Green. Enjoy your new characters.
This robbery has gone extremely wrong, and someone is to blame for the cops knowing exactly where they were and the shootout that followed. The plan, before everything went wrong, was for the player characters to perform the robbery, wait in a warehouse until midnight, and then catch a ferry to meet the boss. The very same ferry that Taylor Meldrum has been offered to take to visit Great Carcosa. But of course, the player characters don't know that yet. Obviously, things have gone very, very wrong since then, and tensions are high. Someone is to blame for all of this. Once the characters arrive and have had some snippings at each other about what went wrong, how did it go wrong, who is to blame, what's going on, what should we do, that is when you will do your first flashback scene with Mr. Red, Mr. Green and Mr. Black. It's stated in their backstories that Mr. Green just saved Mr. Black's life. So you as the GM can now make the offer to your players. How did Mr. Green save Mr. Black's life? The players will then improvise the scene and you can react accordingly. I really do recommend letting the players know as soon as you start this flashback scene what the goal of the scene is, so that the player characters can work with you. And trust me, they'll get a kick out of it because they become a little mini GM in this moment. Ooh, how did this happen? Ooh, let's weave the story threads together. Depending on how many player characters you have, this is also a great opportunity to kill off any excess PCs, ideally with as much gore as possible. Pew, 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 pew. From there, your adventure and your playthrough is going to differ greatly from mine or anybody else's. This is a game about suspicion and paranoia, and it's going to be largely down to what the players choose to do and how they react with each other that will be the main juice of this game. Your job is to listen, pay attention, and be ready with those encounters that I'm about to talk in detail about. Let's quickly go over what these player characters are hiding from each other. Mr. Silver is an undercover cop. Mr. Beige has a cop in his car boot. Mr. Green has a brother who is married to the very same cop that he will discover, or she, in the boot of that car. Mr. Black is inexperienced and doesn't trust anybody here. Fair. Mr. Purple is a professional, but suspects something deeper is going on. And Mr. Red is extremely tempted to stash some of his loot here in the warehouse. Lean into the paranoia. Remember, this is largely a game about player characters accusing each other. So if you're feeling extra spicy, remember that these player characters have secrets and they might be giving away tells that even the player characters' players aren't aware of. Could you go ahead and make a psychology roll for me? Yeah, hang on. 37. I pass. You notice Mr. Red looking somewhat longingly at your stash of the treasure that you have in a corner of the room. His eyes are flicking all around like he's looking at the exits, but the majority of the time he's looking at your stash. What do you want to do? I give him a real hard look, like a sort of, don't you mess with me, man, I've had a really bad day today. Also remember that you have another ace in the hole when it comes to stoking drama, and that is Mr. Grey. Mr. Grey is not real. He is an apparition, one of many. But the difference between him and every other apparition that's going to appear is that you can choose how long he's going to hang around for before he mysteriously disappears. He has a notebook, which when he disappears will appear as the script Dockside Dogs, which will give the player characters a nice little insanity check. But before that happens, he will take player characters aside when he thinks he can and ask pertinent questions, maybe about stoking drama with the other player characters, but maybe about the voyage that is going to happen. Ask them very specific questions about whether they're ready for the great journey to Carcosa. Of course, he won't be that specific in his questions, but you can stoke the flames a little bit when the player characters slowly begin to realize that what they're living may not be the world that actually exists. All the while, the keepers should be ready to use the following apparitions. These are all stages of Taylor Meldrum's life and what could happen if he chooses not to take the ferry to see Mr. Yellow. The baby. The investigators should hear a baby crying. But beyond that, it's sort of up to you about how detailed you want to get. Do they see the baby? Is the baby physically there? Do they just hear it crying occasionally? That's all up to you. But remember, little kids and babies in horror, easy creep factor. So use it, no notes. The child. An investigator should run into a child at some point playing with a toy boat. Upon inspection, the toy boat will have people inside that look exactly like the player characters. And the man rowing the boat in the front is a man dressed in yellow waterproofs. It should be noted that these apparitions can appear in any order that you like, and they should disappear in whatever way that you see fit. These are suggestions, not hard rules. The adolescent. An angry teenage boy should go up to a PC and demand, "Will you go?" If the investigator fails to reply with a direct yes or no answer, the teenager will become enraged. The young man. An investigator or investigators can run into a man using a knife to whittle, another example of Mr. Yellow, a man in yellow waterproofs. He will then ask the player characters questions. Is it time? I don't know who you are. I'm gonna wait on the pier. The middle-aged man. The middle-aged man will read a modified Gatsby quote. In the Zippo light, Mr. Beige, you see an old middle-aged man, about your age. He's reading a book.
I jump a little bit and I go, oh, fucking hell. Where the bloody hell did you come from?
Gatsby and I looked across the bay at the flickering light. I'm not sure what the light was. Perhaps it was the end of the pier. When I turned around, Gatsby was gone, and I was all alone in the cold darkness.
The hell are you talking about? I turn to the others and I go, can you guys see this?
See what? The old man. At some point, the characters will run into Old Man Taylor, who will ask, "Did you go?" If the investigators cross the bay with the old man still there, he will disappear and leave only a threadbare chair. The dying man. Wheezing with a death rattle, Old Man Taylor will ask one of the player characters to put 2 coins upon his eyes. He will give them 2 20-franc coins. These coins are known as angels, and they were first minted in 1895, the same year of the publication of The King in Yellow. He wants to pay the ferryman with these coins, and upon handing them, he will give his last gasp and die. Feel free to use any or just a few of these apparitions in whatever order that you like and make any modifications that you want. Remember, it's your game, have fun. But if you do end up running this adventure, I would love to know what apparitions you used, in what order, and what modifications you made. I'd also be curious to know if you add anything extra to really warp the player character's sense of reality, which I'd heartily recommend. For example, I took a tip from the Keeper's Tips book, which I highly recommend. Specifically, I decided to mess with the player's sense of reality.
Can I still hear the baby?
No. The lights flash, the sound dissipates, but the lights continue.
Shit. I'll look out the window.
Yeah, I'm gonna hide by...
Hang on. Why?
You said the lights were flashing, but there was no sound, correct?
Lights? What lights?
Can you say the lights were still flashing?
I don't know what you're talking about.
What?
Hang on.
He's pulling some keeper shit right now.
Son of a bitch.
You don't see any lights. I don't know what you mean.
Am I having an episode? What is happening?
So, are some of us seeing the lights? Do I see the lights?
Why are you guys bringing up lights?
You just
Because they turn them off.
Oh yeah, you turn those off. Yeah. Don't know why. So please share in the comments what you would do to freak the players out. Soon enough, Maria the cop will be revealed in the boot, probably after seeing a couple of the player characters' faces, which is bad news for their future, and everything will likely quickly unravel from there. It's around this time that you should be ready to have Mr. Grey disappear and leave behind his notebook, which will have the title Dockside Dogs, which will then reveal that the player characters are characters in a story, and that they are not real people. And then when you're ready, Taylor Meldrum, the reader himself, will appear. Taylor Meldrum will make his offer when he understands that these people in front of him are the characters that he wrote. He will make the offer that was extended to him, and he will extend it to the player characters. Come with me to Great Carcosa. You can live with me as great immortal characters in one of the greatest epics ever told. So he's like, wait. There is a chance for all of us. I want you to come with me. I've been offered a place out in the city. Mr. Yellow is waiting for all of us. He can come and take us all there, where you will be heralded as the great story I know you can become. If the player characters take issue with the fact that they are not actually real, or perhaps have a bout of madness that somehow ends in violence, remember that if they choose to shoot Taylor, Taylor is them and they are Taylor. They are extensions of Taylor. So when they harm him, they will take that damage themselves. Which, as I'm sure you're not surprised to hear, will inflict another sanity check. Sanity check should apply thick and fast to everyone if this happens, as the hole in Taylor will create a hole in the same place in a player character, and they take the same amount of damage. Depending on what happens in this adventure, different endings will occur. By default, the ferryman will appear soon after Taylor Meldrum appears to escort them across the bay to Great Carcosa, and that is where the player characters that remain have to make their decision. If the player characters kill Taylor Meldrum before the ferryman appears, the scene will largely be the same, except it will be taking place in Taylor Meldrum's apartment. From there, the ending will be basically the same. The ferryman will take the player characters out onto the balcony, the ship will be waiting for them in mid-air, and they will have the choice to make about whether they will accompany the ferryman to Great Carcosa. But they don't have Taylor Meldrum there to give them the context that they probably sorely need. If any player characters refuse to go with the ferryman, they will be allowed to leave and go into the world. It's soon after that they realize that people will avoid their gaze and balk from their touch. Soon enough, they will realize that they resemble Mr. Grey, a cold, lifeless hunk of meat. They are doomed to a sad existence, devoid of human company. Forever. Overall, I really love this adventure, and I cannot recommend it highly enough. The playthrough that we did was one of the best games that I have ever run, and I remember it extremely fondly. I hope you enjoy it as well. But again, I want to state a very important caveat that should be obvious to you now. If your players do not seem like the type that would enjoy role-playing their characters to the bitter end, this is not the game for you. If you've never played Call of Cthulhu before, this would not be my recommendation, nor is it the author's, to start Call of Cthulhu with. This is largely a contained scenario where the player characters are expected to have conflict with each other. If any of your players are not comfortable with such things, I would not recommend running this scenario. However, if your players are up for the challenge and are willing to have conversations before, during, and after the game about what conflict is and what level of conflict they're comfortable with, then I highly recommend running this game. This adventure has everything I love about Call of Cthulhu in it. It's dripping with atmosphere and is clearly a love letter to the Quentin Tarantino movie, while being very much its own thing. It's also the first adventure I've ever ran that actually has references to the King in Yellow, so that's a really neat place to start. I'm really looking forward to running more Hasta stuff in the future. Oop, I said the name, sorry. King in Yellow. You can find the link to the PDF or the softcover copy in DriveThruRPG. The link is below. I can confirm this is the copy I picked up at Chaosium Con. The pages are extremely well designed. It's binded well, and it was actually a really good resource because I wanted to keep an eye on the player character's secrets and the apparitions, which requires multiple pages. So I ended up buying the PDF on DriveThruRPG as well, so that I could run a really smooth adventure. You can probably get a better deal than I did by just ordering the softcover copy, and I think the PDF comes with it. That's the one downside about buying at a con, is that if you buy the physical copy, it feels a little dickish to ask for the PDF for free from an artist that is likely not making a huge amount of money from the book, so I just went and bought it again. So yeah, get a better deal than me and get it from DriveThruRPG. In conclusion, if you enjoyed the movie Reservoir Dogs and want a spoof of that in an adventure while having it be its very own weird thing, and you have a player group that are willing to have conflict with each other, I cannot recommend Dockside Dogs enough. G'day everybody, thanks so much for watching. Once again, we have an actual play of this adventure here or there, one of those corners somewhere up there. You can watch it and take the ideas and improve what I've done. And if you do feel like sharing, subscribing, all that YouTube stuff, we immensely appreciate your support. We are also on Twitch at the same name, Jack Squarepeg, where we do live streams of all sorts of tabletop RPGs, from RuneQuest to Call of Cthulhu to Magical Kitties Save the World. So if any of that sounds like your cup of tea, go ahead and subscribe there, or anything that you want to do, because you're an adult and I trust you. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great day.